It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the San Francisco Giants. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. Giants and Dodgers going round and round. They played 17. The Giants have an edge. They've won 9 to the Dodgers 8. Interesting about the Dodgers, and pretty typical about them, up north at AT&T Park, they've won 6 of 9. Down here at Dodger Stadium, they have won 2 and lost 6. On the mound for San Francisco will be Madison Bumgarner, a record of 18-9. He is 3-1 against the Dodgers this year. He is 11-4 lifetime. He also comes in with a 5-game winning streak, and the Giants have won 6 straight of his starts. On the mound for the Dodgers will be Zach Greinke. He's looking for his 16th win of the year. Greinke is a perfect 4-0 against San Francisco with a super earned run average of 1.9. Tomorrow night, the concluding game, it'll be Clayton Kershaw looking for his 21st win against either Tim Hudson, who's bothered by a sore hip, or perhaps Tim Lincecum. So those are the pregame notes. Stay tuned for what should be a great ball game and a whole lot more coming up right after this.
Last night, Yasiel Puig showing off his arm with a perfect throw to home plate to nail Brandon Belt in the 11th inning. Nice tag by Drew Butera. That preserved the 2-2 tie. It was Puig's National League leading 13th outfield assist of the season. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Dodger Stadium. I'm Alana Rizzo. Game 2 against the San Francisco Giants, and Yasiel Puig continues to impress defensively in center field with the glove. But that's not the only way he has made an impact this season for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's done it offensively as well. specifically with extra base hits. He has 37 doubles, 9 triples, and 15 homers this year. With one more triple, look at this, he could become just the 4th LA Dodger to have double-digit totals in each type of extra base hit. The only previous Los Angeles hitters to do it, Willie Davis twice, Charlie Neal, and Wally Moon in 1959. Yasiel Puig batting in the 2-hole today against Madison Bumgarner. One of the few Dodgers to have had success against Bumgarner. He is batting .300 with 2 home runs and 2 RBI. After the break, the legendary Vince Scully on the call. We'll be right back.
Good evening to you, wherever you may be. Welcome to Dodger Stadium for baseball's answer to push against shove, better known as the Giants and the Dodgers. Zack Greinke on his way to a most important pitching assignment tonight, and the Dodgers in follow suit after a 13-inning heartbreaking loss last night to the San Francisco stubborn Giants, who are certainly not about to give up or roll over in any way at all. Not only do the Giants propelled against the Dodgers just by the very nature of the beast, but also they find out that the Pirates beat the Braves 3-2. The Bucks have now won 15 of 18, going head-to-head with the Giants. The Pirates won 4 of 6. So Bochy knows he's heading for the postseason. If he doesn't get the division title, and he's a long shot at that, why, he will have to contend with the Pirates. Meanwhile, you can bet the Giants will be concentrating on the Dodgers. And here's Bruce Bochy's lineup. Gregor Blanco, who led off with a home run last night in center field. Joe Panik at second base, and Buster Posey behind the plate. Pablo Sandoval at third base. Hunter Pence in right field. Brandon Belt at first base. Brandon Crawford at short. Juan Perez will be in left field starting tonight. And Madison Bumgarner on the mound. On the mound for the Dodgers, Zack Greinke in quest of his 16th win. He is 4-0 against the Giants, and an earned run average against them this year of 1.9. So it would appear to be a terrific pitching duel again tonight. Last night, Dan Herron and Jake Peavy put on a show, and you certainly expect nothing less from Greinke and Bumgarner. Gregor Blanco will start it off. Blanco, remember, walked up last night and promptly hit one over the center field fence to get the Giants off and running in the right direction. The home run for Blanco was only his 5th, but it was rather electrifying, breaking the seal on the game. Hitting .260, the left-hand hitter, 37 runs batted in, and about ready to check in at the plate. That career leadoff home run for him was number 3 last night, but he's been struggling. You wouldn't know it after last night. He was hitting .188 in the last 8 games until last night when he had the home run and a double. First ball swinging, slices one foul down the left field line back into the first row. Kangaroos back up about 6, and Blanco will come back. No balls and 1 strike. 75 degrees, so it's a beautiful summer's evening here. It is also the 18th meeting of the year between the two clubs. Not a breath of air to stir the flags as Blanco comes back up to the plate. No balls and 1 strike, the count. Gregor with a little 4-game hitting streak, and the left-hand hitter runs well, bunts well, backs off at a pitch at the knuckles, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Zach Greinke looks in, getting a sign. Dodgers playing Blanco just about straight away. Greinke comes back 1-1 off speed, the changeup off the plate, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. Of his pitches, you would say that the changeup has hurt him the most this year. 2 balls and 1 strike, the count to Gregor Blanco. He'll be followed by Joe Panik and then Buster Posey. Good breaking ball, late break as it dropped in for a strike. Blanco had given up on it, and Panik watching and waiting. So 2 balls and 2 strikes, they count to the leadoff man, Gregor Blanco. Greinke on the first base side of the rubber. Now turns, no big windup. And the 2-2 pitch swung on, soft line drive, base hit into left field. Up the ladder went Hanley Ramirez, but he couldn't come up with it. So the Dodgers a little bit surprised if they were looking at Gregor Blanco's last 8 games. He was hitting .188, and he has a home run, a double, and now a single tonight. So Blanco just got it over Hanley's glove. And with Blanco at first, held on by Adrian Gonzalez, the batter is Joe Panik. Panik has given the Giants what they desperately needed, and he has a .304 batting average with a home run and 17 runs batted in. Remember, Bochy was absolutely desperate. He lost Marco Scudero. They went out and got Dan Ugla, and Dan just could not handle it. So they brought up Panik from Fresno, June 21st. The first pitch to the left-hand hitter is high off the plate. 1 ball and no strikes. Blanco over there at first base is one of the runners on the team. The Giants do not steal bases. They only have 50 some odd stolen for the whole year. Blanco does have 16. So Greinke has to worry about him. And the 1-0 pitch is swung on, popped in the air, foul up along third. Down to get it is Uribe to make the catch. So that takes care of Panik. And holding at first is Gregor Blanco. Take a look at the Dodgers with the leather in the outfield. It would be tonight Scott Van Slyke, Yasiel Puig, and Matt Kemp. Then the infield, Uribe, Ramirez, Turner, Gonzalez, and behind the plate, A.J. Ellis handling Zach Greinke. 1 out in the first inning. Blanco holding. Yasiel Puig, who came up with a 1 in a million throw last night. He is capable of catching the headlines almost any move he makes. Meanwhile, there goes Blanco. Got a good jump. Ellis' throw is down there and got him. Wonderful play. Blanco is going to argue, and Bruce Bochy is going to argue as well. Ron Wotus going to the phone, and they'll check with the video man to see if it's worth an official review or not. So Blanco, who is the one guy who runs, well, there's one other, and that would be young Panik. Hence has 13 stolen bases, and as we said, Michael Morse has 16, and that's about it for the Giant running game. We're watching Ron Wotus, thumbs down. So immediately Bochy says, okay, no review. Well, it's good for the manager. It gives him a chance to air out, run over to second base or get a walk. And then they tell him, instead of waiting in the dugout to say whether you should make the review, it's nice for the manager to burn off some steam, right? Anyway, it was a fine throw by A.J. Ellis. Blanco was nailed. Good tag by Justin Turner. So with 2 out, here is Buster Posey. Posey has been absolutely unconscious, as we used to say, since the All-Star break. They just can't seem to get him out. In his last 29 games, he's hitting .414. Interesting, too, about Posey, what he does when he's a first baseman and what he does as a catcher. He swings and fouls it away. He's hitting .360 as a first baseman, hitting .298 as a catcher. And since the All-Star break, he's hitting an amazing .351. So Buster Posey brings an awful lot to the dance. And up there now with 2 out and the bases empty, and Pablo Sandoval waiting on deck. Greinke rocks, turns, right-hander over the top, and it's fouled away off to the right out of play. 2-2 the count. 2 down first inning. If you joined us a hair late, Blanco didn't lead off with a home run tonight, but he did lead off with a single to left, only to be thrown out by a fine throw by A.J. Ellis and a good tag by Justin Turner. 2-2 the count to Buster Posey. Pablo Sandoval waiting on deck. Greinke ready. Here he comes. Fastball nubbed in front of the plate. Fair ball. Tag is made, and Posey is out, standing just outside of the batter's box. So let's call it a ground ball to the catcher, with Ellis getting the foot out. And it's time for Madison Bumgarner to go to work, and the Giants fail to score in the top of the first. Bottom of the first inning, the Giants failed to score, and the Dodgers turn to go out on the field and play offense. So we'll take a look at the names on Don Mattingly's batting card, and they shape up this way. D. Gordon sits down tonight, and Justin Turner will go up against the left-hander and play second base. Yasiel Puig has had good success against Bumgarner and as well against the Giants. He's hitting over .300 against San Francisco. Then you have Adrian Gonzalez, followed by Matt Kemp and Hanley Ramirez. Change in left field with a left-hander on the mound. Carl Crawford sits down. Scott Van Slyke plays. Juan Uribe at third. A.J. Ellis behind the plate. And Zach Greinke on the mound. On the mound for the Giants, one of the top pitchers in the league, Madison Bumgarner, big man, 6'5", 235, and with all of it, he is a brilliant 25 years old. And he's already won 16 games, now 18 games. So he is right now, in the absence certainly of Matt Cain, the #1 Giant pitcher. A couple of baseball notes about Bumgarner. He's getting ready to pitch to Justin Turner. For instance, when Bumgarner pitches, the Giants have a very good chance of winning. They are 20-12 in all of his starts this year. So the left-hander almost from the third base side of the rubber, and the first pitch to Justin Turner is fouled back, and the count 0-1. Justin Turner, who has given the Dodgers a tremendous start, hitting .331, 5 home runs, 39 runs batted in, and has played just about everywhere in the infield, and he has done a great job. One of the keys, as D. Gordon sits and watches, for Bumgarner is getting the first pitch for a strike. The strike one pitch to Turner, breaking ball at his feet. 66.2% of the time, Bumgarner's first pitch is a strike. Clayton Kershaw, 69%. Jordan Zimmerman of the Washington Nationals, 70%. 1-1 pitch on the way, and Turner way out in front of a breaking ball, slider, in the count 1-2. Waiting on deck behind Turner and hitting in the number 2 slot, Yasiel Puig. Bumgarner with Gonzalez in the hold, as they used to say, followed by Matt Kemp. And Bumgarner ready, and the 1-2 pitch on the way, flips a fastball in at the hands, flipped it at 94, by the way, and it was battled and fouled off. Still 1-2. Another thing for Bumgarner, he's been very successful following a Giants victory. As you know, they won last night, so he has won 13 times following a Giant victory. The left-hander ready out of Hickory, North Carolina. And the 1-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball, little slider, and he missed with it. 2-2 the count. Check swing. By the way, interesting story with the plate umpire and 2 prominent pitchers tonight. Adrian Johnson is the plate umpire, and he has been the plate umpire for 2 no-hitters. Here's the 2-2 pitch coming up to Justin Turner, and he swings. It's a high fly ball to deep left field. It is away out and gone, and the Dodgers lead 1-0. Well, they talk about turnabout is fair play. Last night, Gregor Blanco began it with a home run, and tonight the Dodgers leadoff man Justin Turner hits a home run, and the Dodgers are out in front 1-0. Couple of notes on the home run for an 18-game winner. Bumgarner just allowed his 19th home run. And Justin Turner with the bubble machine going through the pounding that they get in that victory dance. Good thing he's wearing a helmet. And a big hug from the replaced second baseman, D. Gordon, to meet Justin and get him started. So here's Yasiel Puig now. 1-0 Dodgers, first inning. Bumgarner's fastball is swung on and missed 0-1. We were talking about the plate umpire who was behind the plate for 2 no-hitters. Edwin Jackson at Tampa Bay. Homer Bailey's second career no-hitter, and Johnson was the plate umpire both times. 0-1 to count to Yasiel Puig. The strike one pitch on the way is taken for a strike. Puig has 2 home runs against Bumgarner. You may remember one of them that he hit here, and Puig kind of flipped the bat, and when Yasiel was between third and home, Bumgarner came down onto the grass and hollered at him for flipping the bat. Here's the strike 2 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled back, and the count remains no balls and 2 strikes. Dodgers lead 1-0, which brings up a point, and it could very well be tonight. You know, there have been 64 games to end with a 1-0 score. That's the highest total in 1 year since 1976. Slow curveball, check swing, no swing, and the count 1-2. There have also been, if you can believe this, 340 shutouts this season, the most in any 1 year since 1972. So the pitchers have really moved into prominence, and we have 2 marvelous pitchers tonight. And Clayton Kershaw tomorrow night. Talking to Drew Butera in the Dodger dugout. Puig tired of waiting and backs out. 1 ball and 2 strikes. course, the Dodgers were playing the Giants. Puig at the plate, and the pitch is at his feet. He leaps in the air trying to get out of the way of it, and I believe it hit him on the foot. And Puig is furious now at Bumgarner, and he would love to have a card on him. And both teams come out now to make sure no punches thrown. Puig, of course, was hit on the elbow last night, and now he's hit on the foot. Both bullpens empty. That's a show of whatever. Mattingly, meanwhile, trying to kind of okay, saying, that's it, okay. So Puig had fire in his eyes when that pitch hit him on the foot, and he is still staring at Bumgarner. Bumgarner did not leave the mound. It's not as if he was going to charge Puig. He was going to stay where he was. Dave Righetti is talking to Madison Bumgarner. But again, you go back to that home run when Bumgarner was angry. I'm not saying he hit him on purpose. I don't mean that at all. I just mean there has been a bad taste between the two ever since that home run. If you're watching on TV, we'll see Puig kind of flip the bat, just throw it away, and it went over the center field wall. And then when Puig rounded third, Bumgarner was on the grass hollering at him, and they finally said to Bumgarner, go back to pitching. Well, if you take that and add to being hit by the pitch last night, add to then being hit on the foot by Bumgarner, and we have a Giant Dodger game. Here's the pitch to Puig. Breaking ball down and in, got him on the left ankle, and he went down like a folding chair. But he was not just folding. He was simmering, and then suddenly began to burn over. And by the time he gets up, he's had enough time to go after him, as if to say, what are you doing? Gesturing, takes off his helmet. Meanwhile, Adrian Johnson, the plate umpire, keeping him away. And then here they come, as they always do, from the bullpens and from the dugouts. And now to first base goes Yasiel Puig. Just to look at numbers, they don't really tell you anything. For Yasiel Puig, he has now been hit 12 times. That's a lot. 12. Both benches are now going to get a warning. Let's check Bumgarner at the other end. Bumgarner, as far as hitting people, has hit 6. So Bumgarner hit 6. Puig has been hit 12. And we are back to being a Giant Dodger game for sure. So Puig is at first, angry, no doubt about it. Bumgarner now will go up against Adrian Gonzalez. 1-0 Dodgers, bottom of the first inning. And now Posey asking for time. I think he wants to let his pitcher calm down a little bit. Adrian Gonzalez, meanwhile, who has struggled against left-handers, hitting .277 with 25 home runs and 112 runs batted in. Adrian takes the strike, and the count 0-1. So Justin Turner led off the game with a home run. Dodgers lead 1-0. Adrian Gonzalez hitting .205 with 4 home runs against left-handers. Bumgarner looks down to get the sign. Now the left-hander, a high set, looks at Puig, now to the plate, and a pop fly to center. Moving in for it easily to make the catch is Blanco. And we have 1 down. Puig at first, 1 run in, and the batter is Matt Kemp. In case you missed it, here's Justin Turner's home run. He got a pitch just above the belt and cleared it over the left field wall. For Justin Turner, a big moment in a big year. His 6th home run, and he has 40 runs batted in. Talking about home runs, here is Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp celebrating his 30th birthday today, and as you may know, he passed Mike Piazza. He now has 23 home runs this year and 180 in his career. That's most home runs by a Dodger before turning 30. And for Matt, he is 30 today. And it was a long night for him last night. Matt struck out twice, 2 fly balls, and for good measure, hit into a double play. So Kemp waiting. Bumgarner with Puig, short lead at first. And the pitch of the plate a little low. Took a little off it. 2-0 the count. We were talking about 1-0 games. The Pirates have just played 3 straight on the weekend, winning 2 out of 3. And that really was an amazing thing. 3 straight 1-0 games. Well, it's 1-0 here, but we're just starting. Bumgarner ready, looks at Puig, now to the plate. Fastball hit to center and deep. Back goes Blanco to the track, to the wall. Gone! And the Dodgers lead 3-0. Happy birthday, Matt. So Madison Bumgarner gives up 2 home runs in the first inning. 1 to Turner opening up the game, and now this one. And it was gone as soon as he hit it. So celebrating his 30th birthday, he gives the Dodgers a 3-0 lead. And the bubble machine and the wildness continues. So Matt Kemp now 24 home runs this year. And the batter now, Hanley Ramirez. So no rest for the weary. Bumgarner being pushed around a little here in the first inning. And the left-hander ready and delivers. Big slow breaking ball in for a strike. And the count 0-1. Looking at the other notes we had about Bumgarner, the Giants usually get him averaging 5 runs a game. The blue in the crowd, the predominant color. The strike 1 pitch on the way and taken inside to Hanley. 1 ball and 1 strike. Bumgarner also gets a lot of double plays. Giants have turned 18 double plays behind him. Interesting too, he does not allow very many home runs. The 1-1 pitch on the way swung on and popped up behind the plate. Posey has a play. Buster waits and makes the catch. So for Hanley Ramirez, he fouls out. Take another look at Matt Kemp's home run, celebrating it on his 30th birthday. And he got a pitch out over the plate just above the knees, and he really crushed it dead center. Blanco was on his horse as soon as Matt made contact. And of course, Gregor never had a shot. It went out straight out over the 395 sign and bouncing out into the night. And talking about bouncing, you should see the Dodger dugout if you're listening on radio. So 3-0, and the batter now will be Van Slyke. Scott Van Slyke checking in. Dodgers getting an extra right-handed bat in the lineup against Bumgarner. Madison turns, ready, and the strike 1 pitch, he flips that in nicely at 87. For Van Slyke, hitting .298 against left-hand pitching, and he has 8 home runs against left-handers. Bumgarner ready again, comes back 0-2, and that's high. 1 ball and 2 strikes. So the Dodgers have jumped out in front, 3 runs in the first inning on home runs by Justin Turner, and then Matt Kemp after Puig was hit on the foot. Now the 1-2 pitch, slap foul off first down the line, slicing up into the second level. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Scott Van Slyke. Final game of the series and of the year between these two great rivals. The Giants have won 9, the Dodgers have won 8, and tomorrow night Clayton Kershaw and definitely Tim Hudson. The 1-2 pitch off the plate. We understood that Hudson had a sore hip. He had a bullpen yesterday and apparently got the word that he was okay. So Hudson, whose earned run average is 9.9. He's really been fighting it in the last few starts. 2-2 pitch on the way. Van Slyke looks at a slow curve low. Ball 3. Juan Uribe waiting on deck. The Bumgarner in no hurry to pitch. He's been rocked a bit on 25 of them. Here's the 3-2 pitch to Scott Van Slyke. Swung on and foul back. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. I don't know. All day today I was thinking, what is it about the Giants and the Dodgers. I know the history. I can go back in the history books. John McGraw would bring the Giants in horse-drawn carriages over to the borough of Brooklyn, and the people in Brooklyn would shower them with everything they could get their hands on. Fastball is lined into left field. Base hit. So Van Slyke, a single to keep the inning alive, and the batter will be Juan Uribe, who has a home run in the past against Madison Bumgarner. And if I had to sum up the Giant-Dodger rivalry that I have experienced, I would have to go way back to when I really was first starting. And it was a Giant-Dodger game at Ebbets Field. And Sal Maglie was a great Giant pitcher, and he was also the biggest villain that the borough of Brooklyn ever came up against. They absolutely hated Sal Maglie as a Giant. And so did all the Dodger players. The pitch to Uribe in for a strike, 0-1. One of the reasons the Dodgers hated Sal Maglie, he had the nickname the Barber. And it was the idea he would give you a close shave. There'd be a pitch down and away, then you'd be looking away, and he would come right up under the chin. Strike one pitch, Uribe takes low, 1-1. Anyway, as the years went by and Maglie continued to beat the Dodgers, and Charlie Dressen would whip the ball club up to a frenzy before the game, and sure enough, it was one day, Giants and Dodgers at Ebbets Field, and the pitcher for the Giants was Sal Maglie. 1-1 pitch swung on and fouled away, and the count 1-2. Now, as we said, every Dodger hated Maglie, and that included the great Jackie Robinson. He was not above being angry at an opposing player, and especially somebody like Maglie. Bumgarner trying to get out of the inning. He's made 30 pitches, and he has a 1-2 count to Juan Uribe. Over at first, Van Slyke. Bumgarner looks at him. Now Madison delivers. Curveball grounded to the hole. It's going to go through into left field. Down to second base goes Van Slyke, and A.J. Ellis will be coming up with runners at first and second. Where were we? Oh, yeah. It was the Giants and the Dodgers in the 50s. Dave Righetti's going to go out to talk to Bumgarner. Anyway, Jackie Robinson came up to bat against Maglie, and it was an afternoon game. I remember that very well. And Robbie pushed a bunt up along first base. And what he wanted was, he wanted the Maglie to come to the first base foul line, and he would just run over Maglie. Well, the bunt was hit a little harder than Jackie had intended, so Maglie didn't go after it. The Giant first baseman did. And the second baseman, a little guy, Davey Williams, who had a good career with the Giants, Davey Williams was going to cover first to handle the throw. Well, Robinson racing down, eyes red with the way he felt about the Giants, and particularly Maglie. I think all Jackie knew was a Giant uniform at first base. And you have to remember, Jackie Robinson was around 200 pounds and a former football player and a halfback, and a great one. Anyway, Jackie hit little Davey Williams, ran over him, knocked him almost into right field. I mean, it was a crusher. 2 down, and here is A.J. Ellis. Fastball, low ball 1. Well, Davey Williams had to be taken off the field. Now, on the field at shortstop for the Giants was Alvin Dark. And Alvin Dark spent about 6 years with the Giants, had been with the Braves, eventually became a big league manager. In fact, even managed the Giants. 1 ball and no strikes. Ellis looks a strike. 1-1 the count. Anyway, Davey Williams, the injured second baseman, was Alvin Dark's closest friend on the ball club. And Alvin Dark was from Louisiana and was a football player at Louisiana State University, LSU. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count to A.J. Ellis. The fastball at the knees for a strike, and the count 1-2. Now, in Ebbets Field, the broadcasting booth could look down into the visiting dugout. The way Ebbets Field was laid out, there was a staircase going from the dugout down below to a dirt track which you walk to get back to the clubhouse, which was deep behind home plate in Ebbets Field. 1 ball and 2 strikes to A.J. Pitches inside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. And I noticed when the inning ended, Alvin Dark, who was the captain of the Giants, ran over to the front of the dugout, and as each Giant player came off the field, Alvin mentioned, go down the steps. Only the pitcher was excluded. All of the other players were told to go down the steps below the dugout. Big chopper to third, backing up is Sandoval and throws him out, and the Dodgers settle for 3. So where were we? Alvin Dark is telling his teammates, go down the steps, don't sit in the dugout. We'll get back to that and the second inning. But at the end of 1, the Dodgers jumping all over Madison Bumgarner. First Justin Turner, and then the big one over the center field wall by Matt Kemp, and it's 3-0 Dodgers. Inning. By the way, Madison Bumgarner coming in tonight had allowed 5 home runs in 63 innings here at Dodger Stadium, and he gives up 2 in the first inning tonight. There's another note about that. Of the 20 home runs that Madison Bumgarner has allowed this year, 8 have been in the first inning, and of course 2 of them tonight. And opponents are hitting .320 against Bumgarner in the first inning. So Sandoval, Pence, and Belt in that order, and Sandoval takes the strike. All right, in between pitches, we're talking about the great rivalry between the Giants and the Dodgers, and we're going back to that collision at first base between Jackie Robinson and Davey Williams. Line drive that almost knocks Greinke down and goes into center field for a clear base hit. So Sandoval unloads as the Giants now try to come back, and Hunter Pence will be coming up. Shot went right by the backhanded attempt by Greinke as he hit the dirt. So Hunter Pence checking in. Sandoval at first, nobody out, second inning, 3-0 Dodgers. Alvin Dark had told all the Giant players not to go in the dugout, but to go down the steps. He wanted to have a meeting. Greinke at the belt, looks at Sandoval, doesn't figure to run. Pence, a chopper to short. Ramirez to Turner to Gonzalez. And Hunter Pence hits into a double play, and just like that, 2 down. The batter will be Brandon Belt. So we can take another look at it for those watching on television. Routine ground ball, really routine double play. 6-4-3. The reason Dark called the meeting is because he told the players, the other starters, Now, Jackie Robinson was playing third base, and Dark said, whoever has a chance to get to third base, don't stop at second. And of course, the players knew exactly what he was talking about as Belt takes a strike. Alvin, a right-hand batter, and always hit off his front foot. So he was very adept at hitting the ball to right field and right center. Greinke ready in the strike one pitch, and Belt swings, fouls it away. So Dark got the pitch that he wanted and banged one in the gap to the base of the scoreboard in Ebbets Field, about 360 feet away. And it was an automatic double. However, no one was aware of Alvin Dark's meeting with the players. So it was a routine, easy double, and Dark never stopped at second base. Change up off the plate, 1-2 the count. The throw from Carl Furillo into third base was there in plenty of time, and Robinson was no fool. He knew about Dark, he knew about Davy Williams, and he knew what he had done and what would be expected of him to take in return. The 1-2 pitch on the way, fouled away. So here you have two football players, one, Alvin Dark, halfback out of LSU, running as if for the winning touchdown. Jackie Robinson already holding the ball by the time Dark got halfway between second and third. And Jackie knew what was on Dark's mind. So Jack dug in, straddling the bag, and Dark, running as hard as he could, hit him head on. 1-2 pitch is high. It knocked Jackie Robinson over onto his back, almost into the third base coaching box, but Jackie held on to the ball. Dark got up, brushed himself off, went to the dugout. Jackie went back to playing third base, and that was it. That was it, or was it? The 2-2 pitch on the way is called strike three. Well, the rivalry was strong in those days, and it keeps building every time the Giants and the Dodgers meet today. Just take Bumgarner and Puig as an example. And at the end of an inning and a half, it's 3-0 Dodgers. And then the pitchers go head-to-head now. Greinke at bat and Bumgarner on the mound. You have two very good hitting pitchers here. Bumgarner hitting .254, among other things, has 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, is 2 for 9 against the Dodgers with a run scored. Zach Greinke hitting just under .200. However, he is 4 for 9 against the Giants with a home run and a double. Then you have Dan Herron and the other players. But right now, as Herron, who pitched the gem last night, relaxes, Greinke center stage against Bumgarner. Madison ready, starting the bottom of the second with a strike, and the count 0-1. So Greinke, pretty good hitting pitcher. hit his home run in the game that the Dodgers edged the Giants 17-0. Here's the strike one pitch on the way to Zach. And that stays high. 1 ball, 1 strike. Looked like a cutter that just didn't cut. Bumgarner normally wins on the road. He is 11-3 with an earned run average of 2 away from AT&T Park, where he is just 7-6. Fastball is pulled fair, smothered by Sandoval, who gets up and gets him. Oh, what a fine play by Pablo Sandoval, taking an extra base hit away from Zach Greinke. Worthy of another look. Diving towards the foul line, about 3 feet away from it when he got up, and then gunned it across in time, and that'll be doing it for Greinke. So Pablo Sandoval might fool you when you look at him. You would figure he is not a particularly good fielder because he is very heavy set, but boy, he's got great reactions. Switch hitter, ambidextrous, he can do it all. The Panda. Now the batter is Justin Turner, and he takes a little high. Ball 1, 1-0 the count. Turner homered in the first inning, as we mentioned. That had been only 5 home runs allowed by Bumgarner here, and then Matt Kemp hit a 2-run job to give the Dodgers the 3-0 lead. High fly ball into deep right field. Back goes Pence at the wall to make the catch. And he had kind of an ice cream cone as he looked at his glove. The ball was sticking up almost out of the leather. So Bumgarner almost served up another. Deep fly ball to right, and Hunter Pence goes back and makes the play. Turner hit it hard. Pence to the wall, reached up, and then looked, and there was the ball sitting right up on top. So Bumgarner lets out a roar and an expletive. He's angry at himself, even for that long fly ball after the 2 home runs in the first inning. So now the batter is Yasiel Puig, and here we go again. Bumgarner ready, and the first pitch swung on and missed. I guess you had the feeling Puig was going to swing at the first pitch after the incident in the first inning when he was hit on the foot. 0-1 the count to Yasiel Puig. Bumgarner just angry at what's taken place so far. He's down 3-0. And the strike one pitch. Puig gets a ground ball to the right side. Panic is up with it, flips over to first in time, and that's the inning. So the Dodgers go quietly in the second inning, and Bumgarner saying something about the first pitch as he walked by Adrian Johnson. And at the end of 2, Dodgers 3, Giants nothing. Don't forget Sunday, Fan Appreciation Day here. A number of giveaways and prizes throughout the game, including 2015 season tickets, a brand new 60-inch class LG Smart TV, United Airlines airfare vouchers, and so much more. For information, visit Dodgers.com/Fan Appreciation Day. Sunday, the 28th. 3-0 Dodgers, third inning. Brandon Crawford, left-hand hitting shortstop, looks at a curveball for a strike, and the count 0-1. Crawford last night had been 0 for 3 and then finished up with 2 singles, an intentional walk, and scored a run, hitting over 400 this month. Strike one pitch on the way. Brandon takes another strike, and the count 0-2. Crawford followed by Perez and then Bumgarner. Brandon with 9 home runs, 65 runs batted in. Greinke looks down the barrel to get a sign. Ellis hangs up the outside corner, and the fastball is high. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count to Brandon Crawford. I guess we've said it enough time. The world knows he went to school at UCLA. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 3-0 Dodgers, top of the third. Greinke ready and comes back, snaps a fastball inside, and the count runs 2 balls, 2 strikes. Final game of the series and the last meeting of the year between the Dodgers and Giants. Tim Hudson with a record of 9-12. Clayton Kershaw 20-3. 2-2 pitch on the way is foul back. For Tim Hudson, obviously he's been hurting because he's a much better pitcher to be 9-12. In the last few starts for Hudson, his earned run average was over 9. As we mentioned earlier, Tim had a sore hip, but they say he's ready to go tomorrow against Clayton. 2-2 pitch coming up. Crawford swings and fouls that one back, and the count stays 2 balls and 2 strikes. Crawford, a good hitter, left-hand hitting shortstop, has had his problems, however, defensively. He's committed 21 errors. Brandon waits. Now Greinke ready, and the 2-2 pitch, line drive over the head of Gonzalez into right field for a base hit. Up with it is Matt Kemp. Crawford a big turn, daring Kemp to throw, and he does, and then Brandon gets back to the bag. So Crawford is single to right, and the left fielder tonight is Juan Perez. Last night they started Chris Dominguez, who has not played a lot, and Chris had a couple of rough moments in left field. Perez came in as a pinch hitter for Dominguez, wound up getting a base hit, and Chris Dominguez in the dugout relaxing now as Perez checks in, and Greinke delivers fastball strike, and the count 0-1 to Juan Perez. Perez, of course, seldom used because the plan called for Michael Morse to be out there. Morse, however, physically banged up and unable to play. Strike one pitch on the way, swung on and fouled away. 0-2 the count to Juan Perez. There's Michael Morse, tattoo on the left arm, talking to Jake Peavy. They got Michael Morse to give them some power, and he gave them 16 home runs and 61 runs batted in, but he's unable to play and will not play during this series, including tomorrow night. 0-2 the count. Greinke ready and comes back a little high on a check swing. 1-2. The Greinke's allowed 3 hits, single by Blanco, single by Sandoval, and now the leadoff single by Crawford. So he has violated one of the commandments of pitching. He's allowed the leadoff man to get on base in each of the first 3 innings. 1-2 pitch, fastball fouled away. So Perez still up there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Juan Perez, seldom used, hitting 167, He has a home run, 3 RBIs. He was called up from AAA September 1. And what it meant for Perez, he has been called up and sent back 5 times, and this was the 6th time they called him up. 1-2 pitch, big curveball low, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Zach Greinke given a 3-0 lead, trying to hold on to it here. Blanco singled and was thrown out stealing. Sandoval singled and was doubled up on the ground ball by Pence. And now Crawford has singled, and we'll see what happens with Perez, followed by Madison Bumgarner. And the pitch hit on the hand, slow roller. Uribe to second just in time. Not in time at first. Though Uribe took a little bit of a gamble. That ball was not hit hard. It was hit on the hands. But Uribe has a good arm, and more importantly, an accurate arm, and they were able to get the force play on Crawford. Just did get it down there, and then the return, no real chance to get Perez. So the bat gives way on contact. Madison Bumgarner is a very good hitter. He has 3 home runs, including 2 grand slams, and 13 runs batted in. The Greinke has to handle with care, and the first pitch swung on and missed. The players with 2 grand slams in one game, Tony Cloninger of the Braves, and he did it against the Giants at Candlestick Park way back 1966. That was a game the Braves won 17-3. And at the time, Cloninger, the first player in the National League and the only pitcher to hit 2 slams in the same game. The bunt foul by Bumgarner. 0-2 the count. Of course, those of you here in 1999 might have gone to a game here at Dodger Stadium where the Dodgers were playing the Cardinals. Chan Ho Park was the pitcher for the Dodgers, and Fernando Tatis not only hit 2 grand slams. It's unbelievable to realize he hit 2 grand slams in the same inning. Hard to believe that happened. 0-2 the count. Throw to first. Back on the bag is Perez. Other fellows who have had grand slams, 2 in one game. Pretty good list. People like Tony Lazzari, Rudy York, Frank Robinson. There's a high fly ball into left center and deep. Kemp to the track, watching this one go over the wall. So Madison Bumgarner does it again on a no-ball 2-strike count. I mean, first of all, it's bad enough to have a pitcher hit a home run, but to have a pitcher hit a home run on a no-ball 2-strike count, that's embarrassing. The Greinke is burned. It's the 4th home run hit by Madison Bumgarner. High fly ball to deep left. Tell you the truth, we violated the idea because the count was no balls and 2 strikes. I figured I wouldn't have to watch. I'll read off some of the players who had grand slams, and he takes one out of here. So it is 3-2 all of a sudden in favor of the Dodgers. A really bad pitch in every imaginable way by Zach Greinke, which shows none of them are perfect. And the pitch of the leadoff man Blanco is low, ball 1. For Greinke, that would be the 19th home run that he has allowed this year. But of all people, on a no ball 2-strike count to a pitcher, although Madison Bumgarner is more than just a pitcher. Greinke ready, and the 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's in for a strike, and the count 1-1. One note for Greinke, and it's very early admittedly, but you always like to look and see about the batters swinging, and do they miss or do they hit? Do they foul it off, for instance? 1-1 off-speed pitch, swung on and missed, 1-2. Well, that is only the 2nd swing and miss against Greinke. There have been 9 foul balls, and Bumgarner talking to a home run hitter, Michael Morse, in the Giant dugout. 1-2 the count to Gregor Blanco, who singled in the first inning. Zach rocks and turns. 1-2 pitch on the way. Fastball foul back. So Blanco certainly looking for it. Fouled off a 93-mile-an-hour Swifty. 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Giants. And we've already had 3 home runs in the game in 2.5 innings. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Greinke ready and comes back and high. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Greinke has now made 42 pitches. So this is a tough inning. He's made 21 pitches here in the third. And he only has 1 out. 2-2 pitch on the way. Fastball low. Ball 3. 3-2 the count to Greinke. Waiting on deck, Joe Panik. Madison Bumgarner getting a little cool off time, getting his spikes cleaned in the dugout. High fly ball to left field, going back is Van Slyke and backhands it. That ball fooled him, had more behind it than he first thought, and Scott was able to go back and make the play. And I think in his heart he feels lucky that he was able to make it. So a long fly ball out to left. Van Slyke started to his left, then turned around, backtracked, then had to hurry, reach up and backhand the ball. That really gave him a bad time. So 2 out in the third, and Joe Panik, the batter, he fouled out to Uribe. Young, left-hand hitting second baseman. Fastball is in for a strike, and the count 0-1. So Turner led off the game with a home run. Matt Kemp then homered with Puig aboard. Dodgers led 3-0, only to have Bumgarner hit a home run with a man aboard, and a bouncer up the middle for a base hit by Joe Panik. A ball that Greinke almost got, and it looked like it might have even ticked the tips of his mitt. So now he has a runner on and Buster Posey. So a chopper up the middle by Panik. 5 hits now for the Giants. A.J. Ellis out to talk to Greinke. Interesting too that Ellis and Greinke are talking, neither one whispering into his glove. So here's Buster Posey, topped the ball out in front of the plate. Ellis picked it up and tagged him out before he could get down the line. So Buster is 0 for 1. Three to 2. 2 home runs by the Dodgers and a 2-run home run by Madison Bumgarner. Greinke trying to get out of the inning. Right-hander over the top with a big curveball for a strike. That was that big Clayton Kershaw rainbow curve. No balls and 1 strike. Posey blazing hot ever since the All-Star break. Fouls a fastball away, and the count 0-2. But again, remember, the count was no balls and 2 strikes with Madison Bumgarner. So Madison, not only a tough pitcher, but he has also brought his club back into the game. 3-2 Dodgers. Top of the third. Greinke trying to get the last out here in the third. Zach hands together at the belt, and the strike 2 pitch on the way. Posey chases it, hits a little ground ball to short. Ramirez guns it to first as Posey went out of the zone to take a swing at it. So down go the Giants, but not before they get 2 runs, 3 hits. And for the Dodgers, it will be Adrian Gonzalez, followed by Matt Kemp, followed by Hanley Ramirez. 3-2 Dodgers. Boy, you can't ask for much more. And in the bottom of the third inning, Adrian Gonzalez, followed by Matt Kemp, and then Hanley Ramirez, and a renewed Madison Bumgarner, thanks to his own efforts, ready to go to work here in the third inning. Bumgarner, after having a tough first inning where he made 36 pitches and gave up 2 home runs and 2 singles, turned right around in the second inning and retired the side on 7 pitches. So here's Adrian Gonzalez, and first pitch up around the eyes for ball 1. Adrian flied to center in the first inning. Last night he was probably as frustrated, I think, as he's ever been maybe in his career. The 1-0 pitch pulled on the ground, backhanded by Belt on the line, takes it to the bag, and Adrian is down 1 away. Last night Gonzalez hit 3 balls that might very well have gone out for home runs, but were all caught. And now here's Matt Kemp, and Matt Kemp hit a ball that could not be caught. He went down to get it, knew he hit it hard, tossed the bat away, and it cleared the center field wall right over the 395 sign. At the moment, that's put the Dodgers out in front 3-0. But as we've learned watching the Dodgers, they don't do anything easily, and they gave back 2 runs immediately. So Matt 1 for 1. Bumgarner's pitch swung on and missed. A modified shift, but not overly committed, in the sense that Joe Panik has not gotten directly behind second base, but he is out there to fill up the middle. So basically between first and second, Brandon Belt all alone. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way, and Matt Kemp looks at a breaking ball strike, and he's in the hole now, 0-2. Bottom of the third, 1 out, bases empty. Dodgers 3 runs, 4 hits. Giants 2 runs, 5 hits. Bumgarner works it away with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and they count 1-2. Dodgers won 6 games up at AT&T Park of the 9. Giants have won 6 of the 8 here. The 1-2 pitch on the way. Bumgarner delivers line drive, a one-hopper as it turns out. Staying with it is Sandoval, and throws him out. Sinking line drive, and Sandoval playing the so-called hot corner, and he's had 2 down there and stayed with both of them. So Kemp tough out, 2 down, and Hanley Ramirez coming up. Hanley Ramirez, 13 home runs, 71 RBIs, fouled out in the first inning. Ramirez hitting .290 against left-hand pitching, and 4 of his 13 home runs hit against left-handers. He has a 5-game hitting streak as he checks in at the plate. 3-2 Dodgers, 2 down, bases empty, bottom of the third. Bumgarner ready, Madison delivers, flips it in for a strike, and they count 0-1. We've often mentioned the fact that we always thought that Angel Pagan was certainly an important key, an extremely important key to the Giants. I mean, a fine center fielder. He's also a solid hitter. He's a good base stealer. He can do it all. And the Giants are not quite the same without him. Not that Blanco is a bad player. He's good, but he's not as good as Angel Pagan. Pagan, talking to folks in the Giant dugout, with Pagan, the Giants' winning percentage is .615. Without Pagan, they're 7 games under .500, and the percentage .446. Why do we concentrate on Pagan? Well, it's kind of sad, really. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Hanley hits a little flare. It'll be caught by Panning, and that's the inning. The end of the story about Pagan. He will have back surgery on Thursday, and we really do wish him well. And at the end of 3, it's 3-2 Dodgers. A Mazda dealer. Top of the fourth inning, 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. Zach Greinke now will be facing Pablo Sandoval, followed by Hunter Pence and Brandon Belt. And we will see now if Greinke can get the leadoff man. He is 0 for 3 as far as getting the leadoff man, and it finally hurt him in the third inning. Sandoval single to center in the second. Switch hitter batting left-handed. Big chopper. Here comes Ramirez, but he let second baseman make the play. So Hanley hollered off the ball, I'm sure, by Justin Turner, and we have one out. And for the first time now, the Dodgers get a leadoff man.
Right fielder number 8, Hunter Pence.
Hunter Pence grounded into a double play in the second inning. Hunter Pence, even though he's been struggling for about 2 weeks, he's still tied for hits. He has 179. And ball one. He's also second in runs and total bases, tied for second in triples, fourth in multi-hit games. Quite a player. Two and Greinke in a bad follow through, almost fell down. 2 balls and no strike. He's going to take a moment to gather himself back up. What he did after that, he walked beyond the rubber, went to the downside of the mound, cleaned off his spikes a little bit. 2-0. Strike, fastball. Hunter Pence has a consecutive streak going by playing tonight 328 straight games. Change, but it floats high. 3-1. Fastball popped up behind the plate. A.J. Ellis. 2 down. You know, another thing they don't do anymore that they used to do all the time. They would have one of the coaches who was very, very good with a fungo bat, and he would hit towering pop fouls behind the plate, and the catchers would whip off the mask, turn, and settle under it. They don't do that anymore either. So let's see. They don't take infield. We don't see the outfielders throw to the bases, and they're not practicing catchers on high foul balls. 2 down. Here's Brandon Belt. Ground ball, foul. Might have cracked the bat. Yep. It's amazing they can hit the ball that hard and crack the bat at the same time. Two out, fourth inning, 3-2 Dodgers, trying to even the scale. Dodgers win tonight, they will have split the 18. But more importantly, of course, if the Dodgers win tonight, they reduce the so-called magic number to 1. But they have to win. Blanco and company determined not to let it happen here. Down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Brandon Belt's had a tough year. I mean, you expect that you're going to get hurt playing the game, but you don't expect to get hurt during batting practice, and that's what happened to him. And he hooks one down the line. Foul. Foul and deep. Belt has 11 home runs. He had 2 separate visits to the disabled list from a concussion he received. Team was in Miami, middle of July. He was doing very well, and he was hit in the face with a thrown ball during BP. Came back for 5 games, had to go back. Symptoms return from the concussion. 2-2. So if you look at Brandon Belt, he missed 46 games. He missed 50 games earlier with a broken left thumb. So in total, Belt was out for 96 games. So the Giants really missed him. 3-2, overthrowing by Greinke to get it up that high. Brandon Belt followed by another left-hand hitter and another Brandon Crawford. Another foul ball. Still 3-2. Brandon Belt, a big Texan at 6'5". He's out of Nacogdoches, Texas, and then moved to Lufkin. As a good Texan, he went to the University of Texas. Braves tried to sign him out of junior college, but he took the scholarship to the university. 3-2. And got him. Slow breaking ball. And for Zach Greinke, just what he needed, a 1-2-3 inning. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 3-2 Dodgers. Bottom of the 4th inning, 3-2 Dodgers. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Backstage Dodgers. Our cameras capture how the veterans choose attire for the rookies to wear on their travels to Chicago. Don't miss this new episode of Backstage Dodgers, Thursday at 9, right here on Sportsnet LA. Madison Bumgarner ready to go against Scott Van Slyke, Juan Uribe, and A.J. Ellis. Ball 1. Van Slyke single to left in the first inning. Sneaks the fastball. 2-0. Bumgarner, since the All-Star break, the second half, has gone 8-2. He's 11-3 on the road and looking for his 19th win. Interesting that he doesn't pitch well at home, because everybody says AT&T Park is a pitcher's park. Little pop fly to center field. It's going to drop. And with no one covering second base, Van Slyke is out on the quick alert play by Pablo Sandoval. It was a good gamble because it looked like it was wide open. And now let's see, is Mattingly going to go out and appeal? Van Slyke stays at second. Meanwhile, Tim Wallach is on the phone, and we'll see if this trip is necessary. Blanco tried to make the diving catch. The infield went out. So for a split second, the door was wide open at second base. So Van Slyke tried, and there was Pablo Sandoval alertly covering to make the tag. So now we're not going to watch the umpire in Mattingly. We watch Tim Wallach. It'll either be thumbs up, thumbs down. There you see both the shortstop and second baseman going out on the pop fly. Blanco finally recovered, flipped it in a crowd. Belt was cutting one way. That's Belt to the right, and there's Sandoval looking in to make the tag. The second base umpire, Dan Bellino. And apparently we will have an official review. So it was a very good heads-up play by Sandoval. So we'll see whether it's an out or a pop fly double. What made it hard, watch Sandoval. Looks like he's going to tag Van Slyke down between the legs on the dirt. And if it's on the dirt and Van Slyke's hand is on the bag, take another look. I don't think it touched his arm. It looks like the tag is between the arms. Dan Bellino there to call the out. The crowd, of course, thinks that Van Slyke will be safe at second. We'll find out about the umpires in a moment. Another tough play. Another tough call. The umpires don't get easy calls, not when they have reviews. Last night, the Dodgers had what they thought a pickoff play at first base, but they missed the tag. It was a swipe by Adrian Gonzalez. This time Sandoval racing over to cover second. There was Van Slyke going in a crowd because Brandon Belt was also running towards the uncovered bag. So we'll see. There's the crowd. There goes Belt. Here comes. Look at that. The glove hits the ground and then comes up. And do you think maybe Van Slyke's left hand is on the bag? I'll be darned if I know. Yeah, that looks good, except it's on the dirt. Out. Okay. An applause from Gregor Blanco. And Pablo Sandoval is delighted about things. So the play winds up a single to center. And Van Slyke is out from Blanco to Pablo Sandoval. 8-5 if you score him. So a base hit but an out. And now here's Uribe. Off speed at 82. Strike one. Uribe singled in the first inning. Ground ball that found the hole on the left side. First the change, then the fastball with a little sink on it. 0-2 the count. You know, we mentioned the fact that Bumgarner has a lot of trouble in the first inning. I think we said the opposition hitting about .320 against him in the first inning. However, he gets better as the game goes along, and especially after 75 pitches. Change, squirted, charging is panic, shovels, that's that. 2 down. After 75 pitches, the opposition is hitting .201 against Bumgarner. So the idea is, if you're going to get him, you have to get him early, and the Dodgers thought they did with 3, only to have him come back and hit the 2-run home run. A.J. Ellis grounded to third with 2 on and 2 out in the first inning. And a strike. Have to check how many days rest does Madison Bumgarner have. We'll check it out in a moment. It's important to know. Big change, curveball away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dodgers 3 runs, 5 hits. Giants 2 runs, 5 hits. And we're in the 4th. 1-2. Bumgarner changing off the change. Ellis hadn't seen a fastball yet. Justin Turner has hit 2 balls on the button. One a home run and the other a long out to right, caught by Pence at the wall. 2 balls and 2 strikes. All right, Bumgarner is pitching on 5 days rest. He's made 3 starts this year with 6 days rest, and his earned run average is 0.4. But it's 5, not 6 tonight. 2-2. Fastball and late, fouled away. After all the off-speed pitches that AJ got, couldn't quit around on the fastball, and the count remains 2-2. Bumgarner will be batting 3rd in the 5th inning. In case you weren't with us, Bumgarner hit a 2-run home run in the 3rd. And another fastball, and again Ellis late, can't get around on it. Zach Greinke waiting on deck. Two and 2. Time. Looking at the pitch count for Bumgarner, 65. You immediately wonder what's his high. Well, he had a game against Kansas City, 123. Another foul ball on another fastball. So he's kind of lulled AJ Ellis. Started him off with all the slow stuff. AJ with a 7-pitch at bat. Now slower fast. And it's a cutter, 79. Fastball, and this time AJ was able to pull it down and in. So far we're in the 4th inning. Bumgarner, who is a strikeout pitcher for sure, does not have a strikeout. Waiting on deck, Zach Greinke. Fastball, and he finally hit it hard, but right at Blanco. So it took a while. AJ finally started to catch up on that fastball and lines out to center. Down go the Dodgers, and at the end of 4, Dodgers 3, Giants 2.
Thank you.
La Gran Fiesta, Viva Los Doyers. There'll be live music, food, autographs, games, and fun for the whole family starting at 2 o'clock. It's free with your ticket to the game. And it's brought to you by Chevrolet, State Farm, Coca-Cola, and Time Warner Cable. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/Viva today. Three runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. Brandon Crawford, Juan Perez, and Madison Bumgarner in that order. Crawford singled to right in the 3rd inning and was forced by Perez only to have Bumgarner come up and hit a home run on a no-ball 2-strike count. That's a strike. 0-1. Crawford, for the last 10 games, is hitting about .430. So he's red hot. 1-1. He's having a career year as far as the 65 RBIs are concerned. He would be 4th if you're talking shortstops and run production. A little foul ball. Ian Desmond has 89 runs batted in. Johnny Peralta 69. Hanley Ramirez 67. And now Brandon Crawford with 65. One ball and 2 strikes. 2-2. Interesting, we were talking about Madison Bumgarner, who came into this game with 214 strikeouts and does not have a strikeout through 4 innings. That's kind of an upset. Off speed, lifted to left center. Van Slyke's play. So 1 out in the 5th inning. As far as strikeouts for Greinke, he has 2 strikeouts, and he's gotten the same man twice, Brandon Belt. So now here's Perez. Hit the slow ground ball, broke his bat, hit the slow ground ball, and Uribe gambled and was able to get Crawford on a force play. And then Bumgarner came up, no balls and 2 strikes, and hit a home run, his 4th of the year. Big slow freight for a strike. Ideally, of course, for Bruce Bochy, he'd have had Michael Morse playing left and Angel Pagan center, but he's 0 for 2 in that department. That's going to be stroked into left field. A diving backhand catch by Scott Van Slyke. Matt Kemp giving him the good catch sign from right field. So Scotty, who had trouble on a fly ball by Blanco, made a wonderful play on that drive by Perez. Two out in the 5th inning. And the batter, Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner has 4 home runs now. That's ball 1. That's the most by a Giant pitcher. You have to go back to the 30s and the old Polo Grounds. A sinker ball pitcher by the name of Hal Schumacher hit 6. 1-1. Take a look. No ball, 2-strike curveball, and he whacked it into the left center field seats over the wall. By the way, it's interesting. Hal Schumacher, they had the 6 home runs, became a bat salesman and lived in Vero Beach. Well, Bumgarner on a fly ball, and for Greinke, that's the 2nd inning. Well, hello there, Tiger. You got all the moves, kid. And the Dodgers lead the Giants 3-2. Just don't fall down. Pablo Sandoval. They want to see a remarkable play and remarkable camera work. A diving catch. Look at that. Sandoval frozen in the air as he backhands the hopper, but he still has to get up, scramble a bit, and then gun it over just ahead of Greinke's arrival. Marvelous play by Pablo. So Greinke 0 for 1, be followed by Turner and then Puig. You know, we mentioned about Bumgarner, a strikeout pitcher, 214 strikeouts, and we're going to the 5th inning, and he is yet to strike out a batter. That's a strike. It was 4 starts ago. Madison was pitching against the Tigers in Detroit. He went 6 innings. He didn't walk a batter, and he didn't strike out a batter. And 3 starts before, he struck out 12, 13, and 7. The next start, he had 9. So it's a bit rare, at least for the moment. 1 ball and 1 strike. Big, slow breaking ball. 1 and 2. Fastball fouled away. 1 and 2 the count to Zach Greinke. If you're facing Bumgarner, you know he has a fastball, he has a slider, he has a good changeup, and recently, like just about every left-hander, he's come up with a cutter as Turner on deck. And hit off the handle, a 1-hopper to Panic. So Greinke is 0 for 2, and we have 1 down in the 5th inning. Justin Turner coming up, led off the game with a home run, and then last time up, fly deep to right. Pence went all the way to the wall to make the catch. Justin exchanging some pleasantries with the plate umpire, Adrian Johnson. How to win friends and influence people. Ball one. Bumgarner, even though he gave up a hit to Van Slyke, remember, was erased at second base. So he's faced only 3 batters in each of the last 3 innings. Ground ball. Crawford. 2 down. Now Yasiel Puig.
Number 66,
Puig was hit by the pitch on the foot in the first inning. He and Bumgarner got into a hollering match. And to tell you the truth, you could have bet the house that Puig in his second at bat would swing at the first pitch, which he did and which he missed. But he just knew his pot had boiled over and it was still simmering when he came up the second time, and he wanted to hit the ball out of the state. Now, if he's calmed down, we'll see what he does in his third confrontation. One ball and no strikes. Bumgarner has a temper. I mean, we're not talking about the time he came off the mound to holler at Puig after Yasiel hit the home run. Fastball strike. In fact, 4 years ago, he was pitching in the Coast League, and he was suspended for 3 games and fined money by the league. He was so angry coming off the field, he threw the baseball into center field. The umpire ran him for arguing about a pickoff attempt at second base. Foul back. Here's the first inning. The pitch is going to be down at the feet, and Puig sits there thinking, should I go out there and get him? Now he's going to come out and holler, and I mean, he's angry by the minute now. But that was it. You didn't miss anything if you weren't with us. And down he goes. So the Dodgers again go 1-2-3. And at the end of 5, they lead barely 3-2. In 1962, the Dodgers were in Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Maury Wills was getting close to breaking Ty Cobb's record for stolen bases. And in that game on this day, he stole number 96 to tie Cobb, and then he stole 97 to break the record. And by the time the season over, Maury had stolen 104 bases. Indeed, he was the mouse that roared. The one thing I wish I could have remembered, why was Wills running wild in that game? The final score in that game, Cardinals 12, Dodgers 2. And with that, let's go back to this one. Gregor Blanco will lead it off. Tough ball game. 3-2 in favor of the Dodgers. You really didn't figure to see anything but tough ones, especially now. Blanco has singled and flied to left. Slow breaking ball for a strike. Blanco playing center field. That straightens him up. Uribe on the edge of the grass at third. Blanco does a lot of things, little things well, and one of them, he does bunt. Fastball, got it in there. Blanco thinks it was low. Blanco, Panic, and then Posey. And if anybody gets on, Pablo Sandoval hitting cleanup. Time. Madison Bumgarner has certainly improved his pitch count. He made 36 pitches in the first inning, then 7, then 9, 17, and the last inning 11. Greinke's had one tough inning, the third, when he made 27 pitches. Slow curveball, backed up easily by Ramirez to get him. Greinke taking a tumble going after it. So nice play by Hanley, one away. Blanco is 1 for 3, and the batter Joe Panic. Watch Greinke, tried, couldn't do it. But there's Ramirez. One away. Greinke is an extra infielder. I have to look that up. He has a long streak of games without an error. I'm going to look it up. He did commit an error on this road trip, but he had a great streak. He had gone years without committing an error. Can't find it, trust me. 2-0. That's a strike. Last night, the left-hand hitting Joe Panic had 3 hits against 3 left-hand pitchers. That was quite a trick. Off speed, grounded to Turner. 2 out. So that'll bring up Posey with the bases empty. We're in the 6th. Dodgers lead 3-2. Posey hit the ball out in front of the plate, tagged out by A.J. Ellis. And last time up, grounded to short. Check swing foul. Another standout thing about Zach Greinke, his last error, or his previous error, was July the 16th, 2010. So he went that long before committing an error. That's 134 starts. Two balls and no strikes to Buster Posey. Greinke had retired 9 in a row since panic single in the 3rd inning. Fastball and hit to the gap. That's going to drop. Puig is over to get it. Posey will hold on with a single, and the batter will be Pablo Sandoval.
Third baseman, number 48, Pablo Sandoval.
So Posey a fly ball single that breaks the streak at 9. Sandoval singled and grounded out. So Posey, who had allowed the leadoff man to get aboard in each of the first 3 innings, has now shut down the leadoff man in the next 3 innings, and Posey gets a 2-out single. Pablo 1 for 2, made a dazzling play at third earlier on a ball hit by Greinke. Fastball, a strike. Pablo has his shirt hanging out just a little bit, covers the buckle. Last night the pitch hit that shirt. He was awarded first base, and I know I could just in my mind hear his teammates getting on him. The old story about your belly hanging out over the belt and you got hit by it, etc. In fact, when he went to first base, Roberto Kelly had the biggest smile on his face you've ever seen. So 2 third basemen in the game, both really liked by their teammates, Uribe and Sandoval. 1-1. 1-2. Posey at first, Pablo at the plate. Sandoval's greatest moment had to be the World Series in 2012. He was the MVP. And a comebacker. The lob to first. Down go the Giants in the 6th inning. And at the end of 5 1/2, 3-2 Dodgers with Gonzalez, Kemp, and Ramirez on their way to go up against Madison Bumgarner. Three to 2 in favor of the Dodgers. This is not the end of the line. The Dodgers and the Giants go after each other one more time tomorrow night. Thursday is an open date for the Dodgers, but not for the Giants. They'll begin a 4-game series with San Diego starting Thursday while the Dodgers rest. And then on the weekend here, the Colorado Rockies at 7 6 and 1. And remember, Sunday, Fan Appreciation Day. Don Mattingly looking at notes, checking as Adrian Gonzalez steps in. And a high fly ball, but very playable. Blanco is calling. One away. The Gonzalez 0 for 3 with a fly ball to center. Remember one of the notes we gave you early in the game, right at the start of the game, about the fact that Bumgarner gets tougher and tougher as the game progresses. Once he gets to 75 pitches and moves along, he's really tough. Well, he has now made 81 pitches. Breaking ball strike to Matt. 0-1 after 76 pitches, and Bumgarner is now at 82. The opposition is hitting .201 against him. He has problems in the first inning, and sure enough, he had problems tonight in the first inning. Slow and low. 1-1. From 76 to 90 pitches, the opposition is hitting .202. From 91 to 105 pitches, the opposition is batting .186. 1-1. Ball 2. Matt gets a couple of sliders in the dirt. 2-1 to count. Matt had the big home run with Puig aboard in the first inning. That was the kind of a pitch that hit Puig down and in. Got him on the foot. Kemp was able to avoid it. 3-1 to Matt. Hanley Ramirez on deck. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Dodgers. 2 runs, 6 hits for the Giants. And as you know, so much at stake. Ground foul. You know, the fella who just emerged, and I have a feeling he's going to become a standout pitcher for the Giants. Fellow we saw briefly up in San Francisco, and he pitched the 13th inning against the Dodgers last night. Hunter Strickland is his name. Boy, is he some good-looking pitcher. Fastball fouled away. Strickland, who is somewhere back in there, that's Tim Lincecum on the right. But Strickland was hitting 98, 99. He was like Andrew Kashner, Tyson Ross. He was remarkable. And it would not be a bit surprising that Hunter Strickland becomes a starting pitcher for the Giants next year. Boy, he's good. 3-2. If you joined us late, bottom of the first inning, Justin Turner homered. Puig was hit on the foot, and with 1 out, then Kemp homered. And the Dodgers, since the first inning, have had 1 hit. That's what happened last night. They had their last hit in the 6th inning, and the game went 13. Slow breaking ball foul back. The Bumgarner, who in one way is surprising tonight, struck out only 1, but no surprise, he has not walked anybody. The old story, the old joke, he gives up a walk like he would give up a tattoo. Three and 2. And got him. Slider down and in. So Matt Kemp walks away, muttering, I'm sure, to himself,
Shortstop, number 13.
And the batter is Hanley Ramirez. Hanley Ramirez, 13 home runs, 71 runs batted in. Hanley waits, I'm sure, I'm just watching him. He likes to hear his song. And he just about waits until the song ends, and then he gets in the box. All right. Fastball, strike. Hanley thinks it's inside. In fact, he just said inside. Here it is. That was Matt Kemp. Yeah, Matt Kemp with the slider in the dirt. Hanley takes a strike, 0-1. Fastball, late getting around on it. 0-2. Bumgarner has such an easy delivery. And then all of a sudden that ball just jumps out. No wonder he's won 18, trying to win his 19th. And of course he's big. 6'5", weighs at least 235. Oh, and 2. Fastball. Neither the Giants or the Dodgers have been on fire since, let's say, August 1. The Dodgers are 6 games above 500 since August 1. And the Giants are 5 games above 500 since August 1. And you get to thinking about teams that were playing so-so and still ran the table and won the World Series. I will tell you about one of them. The 2006 St. Louis Cardinals. Foul ball. The St. Louis Cardinals and the 1958 Yankees. They were teams that were played under 500 ball from August 1 and wound up going the distance, winning the World Series. You know, 1981, when the Dodgers beat the Yankees and were the champs, they were 1 game above 500 in the last 50 some odd games. So it's not necessarily true that you have to be red hot going into the postseason. Now, the way the Pittsburgh Pirates are playing, you would think that's ideal. They're winning all the time. But Puig and company, they're so-so. Carl Crawford would disagree with the description so-so. 0-2. Change, ball 1. But you know, against left-handers here at Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers are 9-9. At home, the Dodgers are only 4 games above 500. They've lost 6 of 8 to the Giants here at Dodger Stadium. So they're not exactly bubbling, but they're getting close. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fastball missed. Had them all set up for that. 2-2. Of course, it is true when a team wins today, whether it's the wild card or the division, the first thing they say, we haven't done anything. In the old days, best team won the pennant. They went to the series, period. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball with a little sink to it, and down goes Hanley. That is the 2nd strikeout for Madison Bumgarner. He came in here with 214. And at the end of 6, 3-2 Dodgers. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the all-new Chrysler 200, America's import. We have reached the 7th inning with the Dodgers trying to hold on to a 3-2 lead. Hunter Pence, Brandon Belt, and Brandon Crawford coming up. Would you mind if I just concluded the thought I had about that young pitcher whom I've never met, Hunter Strickland? And so impressed with him after watching him in San Francisco and then here. That's a strike. In the minor leagues this year, at 2 different levels, Hunter Strickland had 55 strikeouts and 4 walks. And you say that's the minor leagues, and you're correct. One other note, and we'll let it go. In the major leagues, Hunter Strickland has worked 5 2/3 innings, has not allowed a run, has struck out 7, and has not walked anybody. You're right. He's worth keeping an eye on. Hunter Strickland. 1-1. Whoa. Big swing on a changeup. He must have looked like a basketball. He just wanted to kill it. Powerful arms, too. And with those powerful arms, down he goes. So Pence 0 for 3. 1 out in the 7th. And the batter will be Brandon Belt, who has struck out twice. That is the 3rd strikeout for Zach Greinke. Madison Bumgarner struck out 2 in the 6th inning and had 1 in the 5th. So he's starting to strike out people. Brandon Belt struck out in the 2nd, struck out in the 4th. Dangerous hitter with 11 home runs. Ball 1. One ball and no strikes. 1-1. The biggest surprise and the painful surprise for Bruce Bochy and company, the fact that they have struggled mightily against San Diego. Two balls and 1 strike, the count. Brandon Crawford watching and waiting. Giants have lost 9 of 15 to San Diego, and they have a 4-game series left starting Thursday. Fastball misses. 3-1. Three and 2. Greinke now has made 97 pitches. Madison Bumgarner has made 98 through 6. Bumgarner is certainly a bigger, stronger looking man, although Greinke is 6'2" and 200. And for the 3rd time with a fastball, he takes care of Brandon Belt. 4 strikeouts for Greinke, getting Belt 3 times. High fastball, and that did him in. So with 2 out, Brandon Crawford, they all go through it. They have to learn and live through it on those days where you strike out every at bat. Crawford singled to right and flied to left. Fastball. 0-1. On deck, Juan Perez, the left fielder. Giants have won 9. Dodgers have won 8 going head to head. Dodgers typically doing it the hard way. Won 6 at AT&T and have lost 6 here at home. And that's strike 2 to Brandon Crawford. Crowd is anxious to let out a roar. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 7th, Van Slyke, Uribe, and Ellis. Greinke do the bat 4th. One and 2. Fastball just off the corner. Two and 2. Little roller. Greinke underhands to Gonzalez. So the Giants, since the base hit by Panic in the 3rd inning, have had just 1 hit since, and we're going to the bottom of the 7th. 3-2 Dodgers. Bottom of the 7th inning, Van Slyke at the plate. 3-2 Dodgers. 0-1. Scotty single to left in the 1st inning. Looped a single to center in the 4th inning with the double play combination going out. Second base looked wide open, uncovered. Van Slyke tried to stretch, and a good heads up play by Sandoval tagged him out. Foul ball down the line. 0-2 to Scotty. And he'll need a new bat. Van Slyke in there with the left-hander on the mound, and that move has certainly paid off, and paid off all year. Van Slyke came into the game hitting .298 against left-hand pitching. And he's up against a good one. Bumgarner trying to win his 19th. 0-2. 1-2. We mentioned Bumgarner's high. I believe, I'll double check it, 123 pitches, and that was against Kansas City. It was August the 8th. On the outside corner, that does it for Van Slyke. That also means 3 consecutive strikeouts and 4 of the last 5 batters. Here's the pitch. Down he goes. So Bumgarner, who came in here with 214 strikeouts and did not have any for 4 innings, now has picked up 4 in the last 5 hitters. Gonzalez was able to make contact. Here's your rebate. High fly ball to left. Plenty of time for Perez. Brandon Crawford was almost playing left field by the time that ball came down. He was all the way out in left field. 2 down, and A.J. Ellis coming up. The paid attendance, 49,251. 49,251. So we'll look to see where that puts it for the Dodgers. 49 is a 3,000 above the average. Let's call it 50. And the Dodgers now 3,550,000. So if they get 50,000 tomorrow night with Kershaw, and that's reasonable, they get to 3.6. Clayton might be in pursuit of his 21st. But if things go the Dodger way tonight, he'll also be trying to clinch. But a ways to go. 1 ball and 1 strike. Interesting that last at bat for Ellis. Got a lot of off-speed pitches. Then suddenly got a steady diet of fastballs, and he was late on all of them. And then started to catch up and finally lined out to Gregor Blanco. 1-2. When the Giants come up in the 8th inning, they will have Juan Perez, Madison Bumgarner, and Gregor Blanco. The Giant bullpen last night went 6 hitless innings. Great job in relief. Fastball. 2-2. That's the neighborhood for him. Anywhere from 89 to 94. Pitch counts up to 107. Waiting on deck, Zach Greinke. And down he goes. So that's 5 strikeouts. 5 of 7. And at the end of 7, it's 3-2 Dodgers. The final Friday night fireworks show, and after the game, fans are invited down to the field to enjoy it. Compliments of Denny's. For tickets and more information, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Well, we have reached the 8th inning. Zack Greinke has arrived, given a 3-0 lead in the first inning. He surrendered the 2-run home run to Madison Bumgarner, and the club's been locked in ever since. Down in the bullpen, J.P. Howell and Brian Wilson, and it will be Perez. Bumgarner is on deck, and then Blanco. And ball one. Perez hit into a force play. That was that little ground ball. Miguel Rojas now at shortstop. Hanley Ramirez comes out. And a little pop foul. Adrian Gonzalez, 1 out. So Madison Bumgarner taking a couple of big vicious swings in the on deck circle, and coming up. Bumgarner being booed not because he hit a home run. He's booed because of the little rhubarb, barely that, with Yasiel Puig in the first inning when Puig was hit on the foot. And then Bumgarner came up in the third inning and hit a home run with a man aboard. He's a problem. That's the kind of swing he was taking on deck, trying to tie it up. For Madison, he's made 108 pitches through 7. You might wonder about Greinke in the 8th inning. Off speed. He has gotten into the 8th inning 5 times this year prior to tonight. Batters are hitting .246 in the 8th inning, including 2 home runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fastball. 2-1. Gregor Blanco waiting on deck. At the knees, but inside. 2-1. Boy, he's trying to tie up the game. Let's face it. I mean, he's not trying to just hit the ball or get on base. He is swinging from the heels, which would befit a pitcher who has 4 home runs. Checking whether he's swinging at strikes with plate umpire Adrian Johnson. Foul ball. Greinke is due to lead off when the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th inning. Two balls, 2 strikes. Overthrowing. Trying to get something extra. Up there now where you start wondering. 111 pitches. Waiting on deck, Gregor Blanco, and a little anxiousness in the Dodger dugout. Foul ball. Looking at Greinke's year. Total pitch count not very high. Got him. And boy, did Bumgarner want that one. Oh. I think the last pitcher who swung that hard was Babe Ruth. There was no thought of getting on the base. He wanted to hit it out. The Greinke picks up his 5th strikeout. And the batter now, Gregor Blanco. Boy, he put a little angry on those swings, I'll tell you. Now Blanco singled to left, flied to left, grounded to short, so he's gone the other way all 3 times. Uribe plays him on the grass, and on deck, Joe Panik. And a drive down the line, hooking in the corner and going foul. The Blanco, who hit one last night, pulls one ball tonight and misses down the right field line. He does have 5 home runs, and I think for the moment he thought he might have hit another one. By the way, for those that interested, when Bumgarner was up there trying to hit one to the moon, that was an 8-pitch at bat. Almost came out of his shoes. 0-1. Change. Well, when you look at the pitch count now, he's at 115 pitches. His high this year is 117. So Mattingly is hoping to get him through this inning and then bat for him, because he leads off the bottom of the 8th. Kershaw and Herron sweating him out. Fastball in there. Well, he's got enough. Of course, Gregor thinks it was outside. He's unhappy. Two out, 1 ball, 2 strikes, 8th inning, 3-2 Dodgers. Big pitch now for Greinke. Blanco does that, and he tried to do it last night. He'll flatten the swing out and try to have a running bunt. We mentioned he reminded us of Rafael Furcal. So it's still 1-2. Now Adrian Gonzalez saying time. All right, 1-2. Little roller. Justin Turner. Adrian Gonzalez. So for Zach Greinke, I would think he is done for the night. And he walks off leading 3-2 as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Big one. Glad you're along for the ride with us. The #1 app for live baseball. You'll get look-ins, replays, scores, live radio broadcasts, MLB TV Game of the Day, and more. So get At Bat for your smartphone or tablet on the App Store or visit MLB.com. Zach Greinke made 118 pitches, goes out leading 3-2. Turned in a tremendous effort outside of that one pitch to Madison Bumgarner. And now Bumgarner facing Darwin Barney as a pinch hitter. And a breaking ball strike. Barney appeared as a pinch hitter last night and was hit by the pitch. And of course, with the left-hander on the mound, that means that Andre Ethier and Jock Peterson, among others, just sit down and watch. 0-2. Barney, Turner, and Puig. And just to set the stage for the ninth inning, wouldn't you know, it would be Joe Panik, Buster Posey, Pablo Sandoval, and if anybody gets on, Hunter Pence. 1-2. Bumgarner's high, 123 pitches. As you can see, he's made 111. And pulled down the left field line, foul. They were playing Darwin anything but to pull. Blanco is over in right center, and he pulled it hard down the line. There wasn't anybody there, but hook foul. Kenley Jansen getting ready for the ninth inning. Two and two. 49,251, and I don't see a red light in the parking lot. They're here to stay. Two and two. Ground ball to short. Crawford on the money, one away. Justin Turner will be coming up, and he is 1-for-3. He electrified the crowd leading off bottom of the first inning when he promptly connected a drive to left into the seats, and the Dodgers had a 1-0 lead. And the dancing and the bubble machine that followed. Then the next time up, Turner pinned Hunter Pence against the right field wall. Last time up, grounded to short. Pence made a good play on that ball hit by Turner. Strike inside corner at 94. Off speed, high fly ball to left field. Back goes Perez. It's gone. He hit an off-speed pitch for his second home run. Justin Turner hitting his second home run of the game. What a year he has had. Incredible. So that's a huge home run, and Bumgarner has to come out. So the Dodgers tonight hit 3 home runs against Madison Bumgarner. He hit one himself. That wasn't enough. Sergio Romo will be coming in from the Giant bullpen, and we'll be back. .331. He's played first base, second base for D. Gordon, shortstop, and third base for Juan Uribe. Justin Turner, what a year he's had. And what a boost the redhead has given the club. Wow. Second time in his career he's hit 2 out in one game. Now here's Puig facing Romo. 0-1. So Madison Bumgarner gives up 3 home runs in 8 innings. In quest of his 19th win, he's on the edge now of losing his 10th. But it's not over yet, not by a long shot. Yasiel in that mood tonight. He's going to swing at anything in the neighborhood. Still thinking about that throw he made last night. That was right out of Willie Mays. Chasing anything and everything, somehow trying to retaliate. He hadn't learned that yet after getting so hot when Bumgarner hit him on the foot. So 2 down. Adrian Gonzalez coming up. Adrian 0 for 3 against Bumgarner. 2 fly balls and a ground ball. Will repeat when the Giants come up in the 9th. Joe Panic, he's 1 for 3. Buster Posey, he's 1 for 3. Pablo Sandoval, he's 1 for 3. Against Kenley Jansen. High, and that's about all. At least 3, maybe a quartet. And it's Brandon Crawford. However, Justin Turner has done it again. Led off the game with a home run, and now in the 8th inning it's a huge home run to give the Dodgers a little margin, and we're heading for the 9th. Dodgers 4, Giants 2. A couple of changes on the mound, of course. Kenley Jansen is asked to close it up. Darwin Barney, who batted for Zach Greinke, stays in the game at second base. Barney would bat in Turner's spot. Barney is in cranky spot. That's where he batted. And Jansen is in the leadoff spot where Turner occupied it. So Joe Panik, Buster Posey, and Pablo Sandoval in that order. Each of them 1-for-3. Kenley worked the 9th inning last night. Struck out 2, walked 1, gave up a hit, made 21 pitches. And a strike. Starting at 91. We'll see if he builds on that. Panik, who's done a wonderful job since being called up in June. 1 ball and 1 strike. Joe last night, as we mentioned, had 3 hits late in the game against 3 left-hand pitchers. Panik, a Northern California boy. 2-1. Bochy thinking about Kershaw tomorrow? No. Thinking about somehow trying to win this game. High pop foul. Uribe coming over. It's doubtful. In fact, it's back in. 49,251 here tonight. And we certainly hope, if you possibly can, that you'll be out here with us tomorrow night. Kershaw in quest of 21. And you know what the Dodgers are in quest of. And they'll be going against Tim Hudson. 2-2. Fly ball down the line. Slicing foul. Back in. Dodgers at this juncture. Gonzalez and Barney, Rojas, Uribe, Van Slyke, Puig, Kemp, Ellis behind the plate. Two and two. Hard ground ball. Nice pick by Darwin Barney to get him. Wow. The Darwin Barney gets into the game as a pinch hitter, stays in the game, and immediately makes a super play. 1 out. And what a time to get it just before Posey and Sandoval come up. Big league all the way. So 1 down. Panik losing to another good second baseman. And ball 1. Posey topped the ball out in front of the plate, tagged out by Ellis, grounded to short, single to center. And that's going to be hit into right field. So that play by Barney is a very big one as Posey singles to right. Take the look by Barney, an experienced second baseman. The grass is wet, so what he does is dry off his throwing hand and then make the play. It takes a lot of experience. That's cool, man. That is cool. Now Sandoval, single to center, grounded to second, hit back to the box. I have not seen Jansen throw as hard as he normally does yet. A little ground ball. Gonzalez will make the play for the second out. So Posey at second with 2 out, and Hunter Pence coming up. This big crowd, mostly in blue, 49,251. Two out, 9th inning, 4-2 Dodgers. Posey at second base. On Belt, Brandon Belt waiting on deck. Wow. Boy, did he miss. You see where A.J. Ellis was and then where the pitch was. 1 ball and no strikes. We'll watch where A.J. sets up and see how close Jansen comes to it. Outside. High pop fly. Barney and Kemp. Kemp is calling. All right. So the Dodgers win a big game. They reduce the magic number to 1. And they give the ball tomorrow night to Clayton Kershaw. And would that not be perfect for the Dodgers to have their ace pitcher, the one who has done so many wonderful things, and can he be on the mound when they clinch the division title tomorrow night? We will see, and if possible, hope you'll be out here in person. Otherwise, pull up a chair and don't miss it. The players of the game, well, certainly Justin Turner, who led off and closed up with 2 home runs, and certainly in capital letters, Zach Greinke, who went a great 8 innings, allowed only 2 runs, struck out 5, did not walk anybody, and Zach gets the Dodgers 1 game closer. So the magic number is 1, and we'll find about that tomorrow night. Wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.